Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Raising Dion, Season 1, Episode 1. It's called Issue 101, How Do You Raise a Superhero? So, full spoiler, actually no full spoilers, it's Episode 1. See, the 101 threw me there. The 101 threw me. This is the first episode, and because of that, we'll start spoiler-free. We'll give you a warning in the middle before we go to spoilers. This is the new Netflix original. It just came out today, produced by Michael B. Jordan, who also has a role in the show. I'd say it's kind of an important role, but not like
small.
It's small, but he's in a couple of flashbacks. He appears a couple of times, at least so far. Maybe he'll be. If he's in flashbacks every episode, then he's basically in a fairly big supporting role at that point.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it is that significant, though.
But we have this show about a kid who has superpowers. Michael B. Jordan's character is already gone at the start of the show. He is dead, or at least presumed dead. And we have young Dion, who discovers he has some form of telekinesis, and his mother Nicole sort of tries to struggle with discovering this, and being a single mother and all the stuff that goes along with that. And that's basically, I'll say that's the setup for spoiler free. To keep it, because there's a couple of more things I know from the trailer, but none of it's really from this episode. So I'll keep that spoilery, as it were. So that'll be for spoilers. Not that I necessarily remember all of it, but so yes, that's the gist of the episode. What did you think of the first episode?
I mostly like it. I have one fairly significant problem in that I dislike most, if not all, of the child actors.
Does that include Dion?
Yes.
That's funny, because I would disagree with that. I think Dion's actually quite good.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah.
I think the strongest part of this, the strongest thing this show has going for it, actually, is probably the main two actors, which is Nicole and Dion. No, obviously Michael B. Jordan is good,
but he's not contributing that much.
Well, but also he's going to be good. Whereas I don't know these actors. These are fresh faces. She is quite sympathetic as the struggling single mother. I think what I like about Dion is that he is very young, and he does have this childish kind of wonder to him. Where he doesn't feel like the smart mouth 12-year-old that I may have expected to get into this show. He does feel more like, no, he's actually more like an 8-year-old who is a bit more naive and doesn't understand things, and is really coming to terms with these powers in a much more juvenile way. And I think that makes it different. It gives it a different tone, and I think the tone's the other thing that I'd say that it kind of has going for it. I think they did a good job of balancing kind of what this should feel like, because obviously they want this to be watchable for kids, but at the same time I don't think it's necessarily just for kids, because the struggles that that Nicole's going through doesn't feel like something that a kid would get into or care about.
No, honestly, I'm not sure how much this is for kids. Is it supposed to be?
Well, that's not. I don't really phrase that the right way. I don't think it's for kids. I think it's definitely. I mean, it's not, because unlike all Netflix shows, this is not like got anything harsh. There's no swearing. There's nothing like that. It's definitely.
It's PG-13.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely meant to be suitable for families to watch.
Sure, yeah. But I can't see young kids being particularly interested.
No. But I think, I actually was kind of into Dion and Nicole's characters, which is good, because I mean the episode is largely just about them doing their thing, and their struggles, and dealing with like, should she tell him what happened to his father, yada yada yada. We have her struggling and having the flashbacks of her husband, and the main thing being, of course, is that Dion first gets his powers, and or at least if they start to manifest. I mean, presumably he may have had them his whole life, but just now at this age, he's starting to show. And there's maybe even some red herrings set up in the flashbacks as to how he gets those powers. Although I feel like there'll be a mystery throughout the season, perhaps, as to exactly what the main reason is.
We'll talk about that more in spoilers.
Yeah, definitely. So no, I was actually kind of into it. I think. It was a different to all Netflix shows. This was only 40 minutes long, and I looked ahead at the rest of the episodes. It's a 9-episode season. It's not a number, but that's what it is. And a couple of them hit 50 minutes, but most of them are in the 40s. A lot of them in the early 40s even. So that's actually quite lean for a Netflix show. And
Oh, very, yeah.
I have no problem with that. And the visual effects look quite good, actually, I thought, for the most part as well.
For the most part, yeah. There's the odd moment where they falter, but overall they're pretty strong.
I say this because I just watched Fast Color for the Ace a few weeks ago, and that had a very similar kind of power in it, where there was kind of like a telekinesis-esque element.
Presented very differently, though.
Very differently, but that's irrelevant, though, because there were still solid objects going around. I know why you were saying that, but I could always tell. There's a scene in that movie where the little girl picks up the bowl, right, and then she does her thing where she sort of breaks it up and whatever. But before it breaks up, it is just a bowl. But the entire time when it was just sitting on the table, I could tell it was the CG element that was going to move, because it just stood out as different. I never felt that in this. I always felt like the things that were floating around looked actually quite good. And I say that, having watched a bunch of superhero TV shows with lots of floating elements here or there, they do stand out a little bit as looking kind of fake. This looked good, and the style of the show. I mean, it does look like a TV show, but it does have a, like I say, kind of go with the tone where it is kind of this like childlike wonder, because it kind of feels like it's going for that thing where there is kind of this darker backstory, that this sad, well, maybe dark's not the right word, but like a sad backstory. There's this kind of era around it that feels a little bit more, he's not got any friends, Dion, and it's kind of sad when he goes to school, and little things like that that kind of make you like him. In fact, you say that like the kid character actors, but I kind of loved his like one friend. mainly because she's like 8, but she speaks like she's like a 70-year-old woman, and for some reason that combination really works for me. She even has these little old woman glasses on. It's kind of perfect. Yeah. It's the way she talks about everyone else. I don't know. I really laugh. But it's got this kind of sad air around it. But the idea that he's going to be this hopeful element that kind of rises up through the middle of it, it is making me think of like certain kids movies from like the 90s and stuff like that. But with this obviously kind of like present day sheen to it, where we're doing a big budget TV show,
but where it's got effects and stuff.
It's got effects, and it's got kind of this hope, and so I'm more into. I mean, I was expected to be into. I like the trailer, but I knew some of the big stuff in the trailer wasn't going to be in the first episode. I knew that was going to be coming later, because there's some fairly spectacular things in the trailer, which no doubt are going to be coming. And there is a fairly spectacular thing towards the end, but
don't think I ever saw the full trailer.
Yeah, there's kind of an interesting foreshadowing line for the stuff I saw in the trailer, which I won't say till spoilers, but there is a little foreshadowing moment of teasing something.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, I'm intrigued with the plot. Obviously, we get introduced to the main characters. Nicole's got a few friends that she talks to. She's got a sister who's a doctor, or a surgeon even, to be exact. Who she goes to when she first witnesses some powers. It's like, I need to go to a doctor. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
But so it's fairly logical in that sense. Like her reaction to it is like, let's go to the hospital.
She's understandably terrified.
Yeah. But naturally, like, her sister doesn't believe her. Thinks she's just stressed. Thinks she's just whatever. And we see that she's kind of struggling. Being a single mom, and ever since Michael B. Jordan. Mark, sorry, I should say his name. Who ever since he passed. So, for a pilot, it does a good job of setting up the core characters. It gives you some big money moments, and then it does give you that kind of like, now whether or not you like the hook at the end is another debate we could have in spoilers, but it does give you some new element in the last scene. But the last scene does say, hey, here's a new thing you haven't seen all episodes yet.
It definitely does. I'm not sure if I like it or not. We'll talk about that, but it's definitely new. There's no arguing with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it yet either, but I'm willing to give it a bit of leeway to find out what it actually is going on, because right now it's just like, whoa, like...
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere.
My guess would be that it's going to be to do with whatever the antagonizing force is.
Yeah, which... I mean...
Because if Dion's a superhero, do they have a supervillain?
Yeah, he might. Or there's also a conversation with the Godfather that maybe hints at what the villainous entity would be.
Sure. Well, I think you can have that plus the supervillain.
Well, you can, yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's whether or not they're going to do both in the first season.
True. I mean, what I saw in this trailer could maybe be explained through other things, but it definitely felt like he was fighting something.
Okay.
He's fighting something, like as opposed to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But no, no, I'm into it. I want to do more of this. So you down for more?
I'll do one and see if the kids grow on me at all. It's a real problem when it's when it's one of the main characters that you kind of don't dislike because it's a likable enough character, but
I thought it was quite likable.
he is an 8-year-old kid, and I dislike every 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, but this show does a good job of making him the one likable 8-year-old kid. All the other 8-year-old kids in this are little shits. Except for the one girl who's like 70.
Yeah, no. See, that's where I disagree. It's not about they're all terrible and he's likable. It's the things that are more realistic to being an 8-year-old kid. That you were talking about earlier. Yeah, I can't. I'm not interested in that. That's the part of 8-year-old kids I dislike. They're annoying as shit. All of them.
Yeah, that's just you being a dick. Like you're complaining that the 8-year-old feels accurate like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, basically.
That's not a complaint. That's you being weird.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why I didn't say it was a complaint exactly. Just I don't like it. There's a difference.
Bloody hell. Alright, we'll go to the spoilers for Raising Dion episode 1. So full spoilers from this point on. So the big things we need to talk about, that obviously the powers themselves, telekinesis, seems to be something he doesn't really control as of yet, and whenever he starts to use them, it seems to be tied to his emotions, and the more hyped up he gets, the more kind of violent it gets. Essentially, it gets more. I think at one point Nicole refers to it as a cyclone. It always seems to kind of have a spinning.
Yeah, which is interesting though, because at the start of that, he seems way more in control than other points. Up to a point. He obviously loses control after a while, but he kind of sets it into motion. He has the control, and
Well, but I think that's the point. I think he starts off in control. He's feeling confident because he's been doing, as he calls it, magic, and he's like, "Hey, mom, look, see, I can do this," and he starts spinning things around. And then when she gets agitated, he sort of mirrors that and starts getting scared because he can't stop it.
Oh yeah. I just mean in comparison to earlier in the day where he couldn't figure out how to do it at all. It happened just completely, by accident.
Well, to be fair, even at the end of the episode, every time it happens, he doesn't seem to like initiate it kind of willingly. Every time it happens, it comes from a sort of.
No, I disagree with that. The two, because when he picks up the toys, that's him doing it willingly. He picks them up with his mind, and he's like, "See, I picked them up."
No. You misread that scene. He does not willingly pick them up with his mind. He goes to pick them up, and he's already picking them up with his mind. He doesn't intentionally do it with his mind. And even the way he says, "See, look, I picked them up," does not sound like, "Hey, I did that." Like, "Oh, look at me, I'm all good." It's
did a bit.
No, it didn't.
He is pointing, trying to pick things up. If that's not willingly activating it, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but he's not. He doesn't. He's not in control yet, though. None of this is him being in control where he knows it's actually going to happen.
I'm fighting you on the fish one, because when she's like, "Look, they're dying. They need water." He then brings up water to them and
no. Yeah, I'll give you in the middle of that he does get a bit more control with the water, because he does clearly sort of. But again, I don't necessarily know if it's like he's actually good enough with the powers yet to actually make all these choices. Again, it's just like he hears that he needs water, and then water starts to rise to meet the fish, right? And they all have these water bubbles around them. I think you're overestimating how much control he has in any of these scenes. It seems to be more of an instinctual thing, where it's tied to his feelings and what he wants, as opposed to him actually making the choice to do it with his powers.
I don't know. I think he does lose control, and he loses it, like at the end of the fish when he puts them back in, and then he can't figure out how to switch it off entirely, because then the trees start coming. But I think up till that point, he was in control. He was willingly doing these things. It felt very much like he was wanting those things to happen.
Anyway, Nicole, obviously freaks out. It gets a bit scary. One cuts her on the shoulder because it gets quite quick, and if you think stepping in Lego is as rough, then flying around the room at 60 miles an hour actually feels quite dangerous. Feels like it might actually. I mean, if that hit her in the neck, she might be dead.
That's a good job it didn't, isn't it?
She might be dead. And her sister, when she takes him to the hospital, just kind of says, "No, you're freaking out. He's not got powers." And it's. I think I like. I kind of both like and dislike the level of which Nicole at this point doesn't really address the powers again until it happens again. Like, I think it's actually quite realistic that she just kind of convinces herself almost that that must have just not happened. I must have been, just one time, whatever, right? Like, sure. Something weird happened, can't explain it, but until of course she goes to the lake with Dion at the end, and he starts picking fish up out of the water. At this point, there's no denying what's going on, and then the water, and then the trees coming down. One tree kind of cracks, but none of the trees actually break completely. But like all the trees, but along with this, the wind starts picking up, and it actually does start to create something of a storm. Which maybe kind of is maybe the big hint to me that his father probably did have powers. Like, that's like, because he was literally a storm chaser. We find that out in the episode.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, especially because after this, when they get back to the cabin, there's a moment where because it's their cabin, it's not like they've rented some cabin, it's like their family cabin they own. And she takes out one of her husband Mark's jackets and wears it, and she finds in the pocket a note with a name on it and a phone number, and it's the name of the woman that he saved. Because earlier on when she told this, because she finally kind of opens up and tells Dion about how he died, because she wasn't wanting to do that before, and she sees this woman's name and a phone number, and I think the scene kind of plays like, oh, he knew her, like what's going on? Is there something suspicious going on here? And honestly, my first thought here is like, is this to do with his power? Like, if he had a power, was this something like he knew she was going to be in trouble? Like, did he have a psychic friend who sees the future and could give him her number and name or something? I don't know. Like, my immediate thought was, okay, the red herring here is that he was having an affair or something. But my thought is, no, this is something to do with his superpower.
Yeah, it's probably just a red herring. It's unlikely that it's actually an affair. I was wondering, is it possible that, so this was the woman he saved, and this number's in his jacket. Is it possible this jacket, got back here after she thought he died? Is there a chance that, okay, he didn't die there, like they thought, and he came back to this cabin, and this was, she gave him the number after he saved her.
Yeah, I mean, we have to talk about the possibility that he's not actually dead, or that we see like a quick sort of sequence of him drowning, but it's from Nicole's like basically vision of it as opposed to the reality of it. It's just what she thinks happened as opposed to.
It may very well be what happened.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm not going to take it as gospel just yet.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's a storm chaser, and one of the flashbacks, he's building a Faraday cage. And this was the scene where I was mentioning how I think it's foreshadowing stuff that I saw in the trailer, because he talks about how when he was younger and he saw like lightning strike one of these, that it was like lightning could be played with inside the cage. And the big image from the trailer that really stuck out is at one point it looks like Dion fights like a humanoid shape made of lightning that's like really big, and it looked cool.
Right. Okay.
So I couldn't help but hear those words and be like, oh, okay, like this is clearly going to be leading to whatever we're fighting later on in the season.
So do you think let's say this lightning man that you remember from the trailer, is that someone else controlling the lightning, like Dion's powers?
I would expect so. I mean, you could explain it as if Dion is having trouble with his powers, that he essentially creates his own villain, and he's like kind of doing both. If you wanted to go down a sort of stretch that way, but
yeah,
my assumption would be the reason why his father was chasing storms is because there was other people like him and Dion out there, and these storms he was chasing weren't natural storms; they were created by someone.
This really does have a lot of similarities to Fast Color, doesn't it?
It does have some similarities, but it's far less boring so far. So it's got that going for it.
Yeah, I like that movie more than you did.
Oh, it was painfully boring. It had some nice ideas, but it was a painfully boring movie. I could feel the budget. Once you get to the house in that movie, it just stays there, and that's it. Um, the TV show might be better, but I mean, we got Raising Dion, so maybe it'll feel old hat by the time we get to it.
Yeah.
But
Possible.
like, nah. So I'm liking the teases in the mythology and kind of what it's hitting. Obviously, the big, sort of not wrench, but the big kind of like twist to it is at the end after this note's found. Dion's outside and it's raining, and Nicole runs out after him. And he's like, "I'm talking to the rain people," and it's like, "Wait, what? What are you doing?" And we go out, and it's almost like ghosts, but made of the water. Like, the rain's. It's all. Imagine
they look like smoke, sort of thing.
Well, no, I'd describe it as they look like if the Invisible Man's out in rain, and you see the shape of the person being made by the raindrops hitting them. I think Hollow Man at the end of that movie. Yeah. And of course, eventually, like, one of them is Mark. It's Michael B. Jordan, and he does speak. He says it's dangerous. You have to get Dion away, which does kind of imply that there is some sort of ghost-like kind of quality to this. I mean, if I was to make a guess, based on my assumption that he has some sort of similar power to Dion, is that he's part of the the weather.
He's part of the storm.
He's part of the storm. Yeah, like he's. I'm thinking of like Swamp Thing going into the green. Like now he's part of the green of storms, or or the Speed Force. He's part of the Speed Force of whatever this is.
No, I'm with you.
It's kind of the way I was, and all these other like ghosts again. We'll call them, for lack of a better word, right now. I would assume that they are other storm.
Well, that's
benders.
what makes you question if he's dead or not. Actually, because it more played to me as like, okay, you could play this as, okay, he's dead and he's part of the storm, or is it more they can communicate through the storm by manipulating it from a distance?
Oh, sure, yeah, that's an idea. And you even get into the well, no, because he knows that Dion. Yeah, I was gonna say you could even like maybe this is a wild jump at this point. There's nothing else to suggest this, but timey-wimey.
That is a wild jump.
It's just I don't know what made me think that.
The only thing that could possibly make you think that is maybe the way it plays with its narrative a few times. Like the opening, it's she's actually narrating this from the future.
Actually, yeah. The only thing that I didn't like about this episode actually was the opening, because
did you think it was a trailer?
No, I didn't think it was a trailer. I thought it was that thing that certain shows, much like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer used to do in its early seasons, it had the prologue thing was like, into every generation there's a chosen one, a Slayer is born, she alone will protect the world. Like, I thought it was doing that for this show, and I was like, this is weird on a Netflix show.
Honestly, because I just I booted up Netflix on my TV, and it was the big thing they promoted at the top, so I just clicked play, and then that opened, and about 10 seconds I went, did I just click play trailer? Because I hadn't seen the full trailer, so I backed out and went to check. I was like, no, okay, it's the show.
It was in the tall grass. I had to search for it because it wasn't appearing at the top.
Oh, really? It was the first thing for me.
I was getting the new Stephen King movie, but they're both big releases today, so I guess it's just 50-50 based on what you end up with. But
you probably watch more horror movies on Netflix than I have, so.
Nah, many I don't think. I don't watch a lot of movies on Netflix, but yeah,
That's
probably.
True.
So.
But the other on that point, the narrative and the
are you going to bring up the phone?
The phone,
the phone scene,
yeah, where she has a old video message from Mark while he was away, and she responds as if it's today, that as if it's a live Skype call or whatever.
Yeah, he left gaps for her. The idea being that this is a message that she could watch and respond to any time she was missing him. So. Yeah. If that thematically sets up the idea of like him communicating at the end, it's like, no, it's not live. It's like, whatever he's saying here is something he tried to say to her at some other point that she didn't know about, for example. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the night he died, he tried to like send this message, but it only got here now for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's possible. I think there's enough thematically there to kind of tie that as a thing that could happen.
I do like the idea of the storm. Well, again, we're saying storm because they clearly have some form of telekinesis as well. But I mean, I suppose you could argue, like, can Dion like finesse something, or is it something as simple as he can pick up a few objects on a small scale by having a small cyclone?
Is he just airbending?
Yeah. That said, though, the serial at the start was basically static in the air for a long time, so that does imply It doesn't have to be moving.
It doesn't have to be moving, but that doesn't necessarily negate the idea of it airbending. He's just stopping the air, like cushioning it essentially.
Okay, sure.
But I don't know. That's completely just speculation at that point.
Well, the question is like if he's only manipulating air, let's say the villain manipulates lightning. Is that like just lightning for him? Like that's other storm like villain or whatever. Like can they only manipulate one element, and Dion can do wind?
Yeah, possibly.
Or maybe I'm thinking too simple there. Maybe it's actually more broad than that. Maybe Dion is wind, which means he can kind of just manipulate the movement of anything, whereas the villain is more electromagnetism, and that's why he can do lightning, and maybe he can do other things with
yeah, maybe
power and stuff. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Those things will probably become clearer as we see more.
Oh, absolutely. We're just kind of spitballing based on what we see in the first episode. But to his credit, they gave us a lot to chew on. Once we started thinking about the rules of his powers and what this thing at the end is here, because I think I like it a bit more thinking about the different things it could be. When it was just ghosts in the rain, I was like, we're doing ghosts.
yeah, I was like that as well. I was like, right, okay, ghosts, because they seem very ghostly.
Yeah, there's a ghost-like element to it.
But we have just presented a few different options of how they could not be ghosts.
And I'm willing to bet as well that just because ghosts would not fit the tone of the show, that I think that, yeah, okay, they feel like ghosts, but they're probably going to turn out to be more explainable within the rules of the powers of the show.
I would hope so.
That'd be my guess.
I'm leaning towards that being more likely than not.
What else would I talk about? Pat. Pat's the godfather who comes over and like goes out and gives him pizza. I had a couple of lines that I liked actually, because she's mad at him for like he kind of ran away from school because he had to wait for her to come pick him up after work. Although she got fired because she was 5 minutes late. But yeah. She gets pissed at him because he's at a skate park trying to impress the other kids. Although he does do one big thing at the end where his power kind of kicks in when he's going over one of the ramps, and
he does like a huge trick, and everyone's like, "What the hell was that?"
No, it's not even really a trick. He actually he's going to what's the phrase in skateboarding when you bail? He's going to bail out, right?
Yeah.
He goes flying through the air and he's way off the skateboard. All he really does with his power is that he brings the skateboard back under his feet before he lands, so it looks really good.
I say trick in the sense that the skateboard is flipping and doing spins and stuff like you would in a trick, and then he kind of just brings it back under.
But I don't think none of that was intentional. The only thing he did with his power was at the very end when the skateboard came back under. Everything else was just a mess of like things happening.
Yeah. But it looked impressive.
Well,
because he landed.
That was the thing. He fell like 5 or 6 times, they say, and then he's up at the top of the ramp, and then you just hear Gangsta's Paradise start to play. You're like, oh, he's going to do something cool. He's going to do something cool, and he kind of does. But she's pissed at him, and she doesn't want him to go out for pizza with Mark. But he's like, hey, you seem really stressed. I'm sorry, Pat. Yeah, you seem really stressed. Let me, take him away for an hour or whatever, and give you a chance to unwind. Which she does, and has a bath and wine and whatever. But she's like, okay, fine, but no soda and no ice cream. And when they come back, she's like, what's that in your shirt? And he's like, oh, mint chocolate chip. And she just looks at Pat and he's like, and then once Dion goes away, he's like, in my defense, he really wanted ice cream and I wanted him to like me.
But he brings a peace offering of pizza, so it's all good.
The character, he's kind of one of the clunkier characters in the first episode because he's very much there to be our superhero explanation dude. Even though he doesn't know anything's really going on, because he's a comic book fan, he kind of starts talking about things. Although, I did actually like the one dramatic beat where he starts bringing up like all the superheroes have dead parents or dead worlds, and then goes, "Oh shit, this kid's got a dead dad." And maybe I shouldn't have went down that line of thinking.
It's not even just that; it's that because Dion's gone, oh, well, my mom will protect me. And she's going, well, if she can, and then starts listing all these dead things, like the implication being quite clear.
Yeah, that he may have no parents by the time he's 10.
He looks terrified, the kid, and he's like, oh shit.
Because I was thinking that scene was kind of clunky up until that point, because he was kind of like, well, if you're a superhero, you have to do this. You got to like, it felt like it was doing like, it was sweet enough because he's a kid and he's kind of explaining superheroes to him, but like that dark kind of beat where he kind of realized he put his foot in it kind of made it work. Like it felt a bit more real at that point.
It did, yeah. I mean, those two lines are probably the funniest moments of the episode because they are both quite funny.
And that's okay because it's not comedy. It's not meant to be funny constantly.
Yeah, no, it's not meant to be funny, but it's got some comic relief.
Yeah. And I think Pat will probably be that throughout.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah.
I did notice a lot, if not all, of the episode titles are references to comics or certain titles.
Well, they're all issue. This is 101.
Yeah, no, but after
Sorry.
that, like, if you look at whatever the next one is, it had the next one was really obvious. One of them was like Watchman. Super Friends was one of them, I think.
Stop saying you think. I'm getting the list up.
No,
Stop
that one
speculating.
was. I know those ones.
Okay,
were.
number 2 is Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Right. Number 4 is. Oh, I don't know what that's a reference to.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Number 5, for record, number 4 is Welcome to Biona. Hope you survived the experience. That feels like a reference to a movie rather than a comic book to me, from the sounds of it.
3 was Watchman.
Yeah. Days of Mark's Future Past is number 5. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
6 is Super Friends. 7 is Why So Vomity. That's actually good.
Which I can only assume is Why So Serious.
Oh, obviously, yeah. 108 is You Won't Like Him When He's Angry. That's not even like a change in the line. That's just straight up does the Hulk line.
Do you know what's funny is on my TV it just said you won't like him when, and I went, okay, I know what it's referencing. I don't need to see the full title. I didn't realize it was just straight up saying it.
And then the last one is Stormkiller.
Yeah, I'm not certain on that one.
Oh, that sounds like a Stormbreaker. What's Stormbreaker again? Stormbreaker's the
Isn't
thing.
That's one of the hammers, axes.
I think so. Yeah.
The one from Infinity War. Is that not Stormbreaker?
You may be right. I think that might be Stormbreaker.
That sounds potentially right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I just appreciated the. Okay, I mean, there's a few there that I didn't get, but I'm assuming there's something or other based on all the rest, because otherwise it'd kind of be weird.
No, good. I love how even this show knows that 3 digits is more impressive, so they're naming it 101, 102. Whereas now actual comic books can barely get to 3 digits anymore without them going, no, back to number 1.
Yeah. See, I did not know this was actually based off a comic until I saw it in the credits at the start of this. So, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
Didn't realize, but it's cool.
Yeah. So just to sort of sum up, I like the characters. I like kind of some of the mythology it's building. It's definitely a more down to earth superhero show, and it feels like it's going to be more about the characters sorting and dealing with this, and there'll be fantastical moments, when they arise and when it makes sense, as opposed to like a all-out sci-fi show where it's just constant, big bombastic stuff like from minute to minute.
Should just mention, when we talk about the things they might be facing throughout the season, and we reference Pat's conversation in the spoiler.
Oh yeah, evil government scientists who might want to cut him up.
Yeah. So I mean, government agencies feels like a pretty reasonable bet at some point.
Oh yeah, no doubt we'll get some form of that probably this season, honestly. But yeah, I'm intrigued. No, but I like the characters. I like the mythology. I like where it's going so far. I am totally down to check out more of this, and honestly, it's a nicely sort of lean show for Netflix standards as well. So
it is, yeah. No, I like everything except the kids, which is kind of annoying. But I really like the mythology a lot so far. I think it's quite interesting.
All right, so look for episode 2, probably late Saturday, and we'll get that to you. So, and we'll see where we go from there. But and assuming that some people actually watched this first review, because we said last week with the politician we'd do episode 2, and then almost no one watched the first episode review, so it was just kind of went away quietly.
Yeah.
That can happen. I should specify that more often in these episode ones. But yeah, that is episode 1 of Raising Dion. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do, you can head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some exclusive content and bonuses and all sorts. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?